Shalom, my friend. God will not answer the prayer most people pray for money, not because he doesn't want to help you, but because you're asking in a language he cannot respond to. And I'm not talking about Hebrew versus English. I'm talking about the frequency of your consciousness when you pray. Most people pray from desperation, from lack, from a mindset that says, I don't have enough. God, please give me what I'm missing. And every single time you pray that way, you're reinforcing the very consciousness that keeps you broke. Let me be clear about who I am and why you should listen. I'm Rabbi Yosef. I've spent 30 years studying the financial wisdom embedded in Jewish texts that are thousands of years old. The Talmud, the Mishnah, ancient rabbinic teachings that have guided Jewish families through persecution, exile, pogroms, and genocide, and somehow, generation after generation, they rebuilt wealth, not by accident, by method. Here's a fact you can verify yourself. Jewish people represent less than half of 1% of the world's population. But if you look at the Forbes billionaire list, if you examine Nobel Prize winners in economics, if you study who built the major banks and financial institutions, you'll find a pattern. This isn't genetic superiority, this isn't luck. This is the result of ancestral knowledge passed down father to son, mother to daughter, for over 3,000 years. And at the core of that knowledge is a prayer. Not the prayer you've been taught. Not the prayer your church gave you, or that you made up yourself when you were desperate and scared. A specific prayer that changes your consciousness from scarcity to alignment, from begging to receiving, from blocked to open. Before we go further, subscribe to this channel right now. I share ancient Jewish wisdom for wealth and favor every single week. This isn't entertainment. This is practical spiritual technology that works. Click subscribe. Now let me tell you why everything you've been taught about praying for money is keeping you poor. You've been praying for God to give you what you lack. That's the problem right there. Every time you pray, God, I don't have enough money for rent, what are you declaring? I don't have enough. Every time you say, please help me get out of debt, what consciousness are you reinforcing? I'm in debt. I'm stuck. I'm lacking. And here's what most pastors and spiritual teachers won't tell you. God doesn't operate in the realm of lack. The creator of infinite universes, the source of all abundance, doesn't think in terms of scarcity. That's a human invention, a mental prison you've been living in without even knowing it. You're not praying to a cosmic accountant who's rationing resources and deciding who deserves money and who doesn't. You're trying to align yourself with infinite abundance that's already flowing everywhere, all the time, but your consciousness is tuned to the wrong frequency. You're like a cell phone, searching for signal in a dead zone. Not because the signal doesn't exist, but because you're not aligned to receive it. Think about it this way. When you turn on a faucet in your house, water flows. You don't beg the water to come. You don't pray to the pipes. You simply open the valve and receive what's already pressurized and ready to flow. But what if you spent years standing in front of that faucet with the valve closed, crying and begging for water? You'd die of thirst 2 feet away from unlimited supply. That's what you've been doing with money. The abundance is there, the flow exists, but your consciousness is the closed valve. And every time you pray from lack, you're tightening that valve even more. Here's where it gets worse. You're not just blocking your own abundance, you're teaching your children to do the same thing. Every time they hear you pray, God, we don't have enough, please help us, they're learning that scarcity is their identity. They're absorbing a poverty, consciousness that will follow them into adulthood. They'll pray the same broken prayers, they'll struggle the same way, and they'll pass it on to their children. This is why Jewish families have a concept called dor ledor, from generation to generation. It's not just about passing down recipes or traditions, it's about passing down the consciousness of abundance, teaching children that prosperity is their spiritual inheritance, not something they have to beg for. And before you think this is about being greedy or materialistic, let me destroy that lie right now. The Talmud teaches that a person who refuses to receive abundance is actually committing a sin against God. Why? Because when you prosper, you become a channel of blessing for others. When you're broke, you can't help anyone. When you're financially strong, you can feed the hungry, support the widow, fund education, build community. Wanting wealth isn't selfish. Refusing wealth is selfish. Because it's not about you, it's about how many people you can bless when you're aligned with abundance. But here's the truth most people don't want to hear. Changing your prayer changes nothing if you don't change your consciousness. You can memorize 100 Hebrew blessings, But if you're still thinking like a beggar, you'll stay broke. The words matter, but the consciousness behind the words matters more. So what is the correct prayer? What do Jewish families say when they align themselves with financial abundance? I'm going to teach you word by word. But first, you need to understand why your current approach has failed you. You've been taught to humble yourself before God, to make yourself small, to say, I'm nothing, I'm unworthy, I'm just a sinner asking for mercy. And while humility has its place in spiritual life, that's not the consciousness of someone ready to receive unlimited blessing. When Moses stood at the Red Sea with the Egyptian army behind him and the ocean in front of him, he cried out to God. And God said something that shocks most people when they read it. He said, "Why are you crying out to me? Tell the people to move forward." God wasn't saying stop praying. He was saying stop begging and start acting like someone who knows I've already made a way. The miracle didn't happen when Moses prayed harder. It happened when Moses stretched out his hand with the consciousness of authority and alignment, and the sea obeyed. That's the consciousness you need when you pray for financial breakthrough. Not please, please, please give me money, but I am a child of the Most High, aligned with infinite abundance, and I receive now what is already mine by covenant. Here's what that looks like in practice. There's a financial professional, let's call him Marcus, who came to me 3 years ago. He had 2 master's degrees. He worked in corporate finance. He made a decent salary, but he was drowning in debt, credit cards, student loans, car payments. He prayed every single night for God to help him. Sincere prayers, faithful prayers, and nothing changed. When I asked him to repeat one of his prayers out loud, I heard it immediately. God, I'm struggling so much. I don't know how I'm going to make it. Please help me pay these bills. I'm desperate. Every single sentence was a declaration of lack. I'm struggling. I don't know. I'm desperate. He was praying his poverty into existence every single night. I taught him the ancestral prayer I'm about to teach you. But, more importantly, I taught him to shift his consciousness before he spoke a single word. Gratitude first, abundance declared, authority claimed. Within 30 days, he got an unexpected job offer with a 40% raise. Within 6 months, he paid off half his debt. Within 18 months, he was completely debt-free and had started his own consulting business. Not because the prayer was magic, but because the prayer changed his consciousness. His consciousness changed his actions, and his actions changed his reality. Now let me be honest with you. This isn't instant manifestation. This isn't say the prayer and win the lottery tomorrow. Jewish wisdom doesn't work that way. It's about alignment, discipline, and consistent action. But when you align your consciousness with abundance, when you pray from authority instead of desperation, everything shifts. The opportunities you were blind to before become visible. The ideas you would have dismissed suddenly make sense. The people who can help you start appearing in your life, not by coincidence, by alignment. Tell me in the comments right now, what is the one financial breakthrough you need most? Not 5 things, 1 thing. The thing that if it shifted in the next 30 days would change everything. Write it down. Because declaring your need out loud is the first step in shifting from hidden desperation to open reception. I'm going to teach you the complete prayer in the next section, word by word. Each word has a specific purpose. Each phrase shifts a specific aspect of your consciousness. But before we get there, you need to make a decision. Are you willing to pray differently than you've prayed your entire life? Are you willing to feel uncomfortable as you shift from begging to declaring? Are you willing to act on the opportunities that will come when your consciousness changes? Because this prayer works. It's been working for 3,000 years, but it only works if you work it. God isn't going to drop money from the sky while you sit on your couch. He's going to open doors, and you have to walk through them. Here's the prayer that Jewish families have used for generations to align their consciousness with financial abundance. I'm going to give it to you in English first, then break down every single word so you understand what you're actually doing when you speak it. Blessed are you, source of all, sovereign of infinite abundance, who opens your hand and satisfies every living thing with favor. 7 key phrases. Each one rewires a specific part of your scarcity consciousness. Let me show you how. Blessed are you, source of all. You're not starting with what you lack. You're starting with recognition of infinite supply. Before you ask for a single thing, you're anchoring your mind in the reality that abundance exists. Not might exist, not could exist, does exist. This is the opposite of how you've been praying. You've been starting with your empty bank account. That's the first mistake. sovereign of infinite abundance. You're declaring that God's resources are unlimited, not scarce, not rationed, not running out, infinite. When you pray to a God of infinite abundance, you stop thinking like someone fighting for scraps. You start thinking like an heir to an unlimited inheritance. Who opens your hand? This phrase is critical. God's hand is already open. The blessing is already flowing. You're not begging him to open it. You're acknowledging that it's been open the whole time. Your job isn't to convince God to give. Your job is to align yourself to receive what's already being given, and satisfies every living thing with favor. Not just you, every living thing. The birds don't worry about food and they eat every day. The trees don't stress about resources and they grow every season. All of creation is sustained by this open hand of abundance. You're part of that creation. The favor that flows to everything is flowing to you too. You've just been blocking it with scarcity consciousness. This isn't mystical poetry. This is psychological reprogramming. Every time you say this prayer with intention, you're training your mind to see yourself as connected to unlimited supply instead of disconnected and desperate. Think about it like a tree. A tree doesn't pray for water. It sends roots deep into the ground where water already exists. The deeper the roots, the more water it can access. Your consciousness is those roots. When you pray from scarcity, your roots are shallow. You're trying to survive on surface-level puddles that dry up the moment there's pressure. When you pray from abundance, your roots go deep into the infinite aquifer that never runs dry. Now here's what happens in your mind when you shift from scarcity prayers to abundance prayers. Your reticular activating system, the part of your brain that filters what you notice, starts looking for opportunity instead of obstacle. You've had this experience before. You decide you want a red car and suddenly you see red cars everywhere. They were always there, but your brain wasn't filtering for them. When you pray from scarcity, your brain filters for scarcity. You notice every bill, every price increase, every financial threat. When you pray from abundance, your brain starts filtering for abundance. You notice opportunities. You see solutions. You recognize favor when it shows up. But here's where most people fail, even after they learn the correct prayer. They say the words, but don't take aligned action. They pray for abundance on Sunday and then make scarcity-based decisions on Monday. They ask God to open doors and then refuse to walk through them because they're afraid or comfortable or convinced it won't work. Let me tell you about Rachel. Single mother, 2 kids, working 2 jobs just to keep the lights on. She learned this prayer from her grandmother, but never really understood it. She said the words every Friday night out of tradition, but her consciousness was still locked in survival mode. When she came to me, she was exhausted, spiritually, emotionally, financially. She said the same thing everyone says, Rabbi, I'm doing everything right. I work hard. I pray. I give what I can. Why am I still broke? I asked her to show me her budget. She was spending money on things that felt safe but kept her stuck. She was afraid to invest in better childcare that would free her time to build a business. She was afraid to quit the lower-paying job that gave her security, even though it capped her income. She was afraid to tithe 10% because she thought she couldn't afford it. Fear-based decisions, scarcity consciousness in action. I taught her something that the Talmud makes very clear. You can't receive what you're not willing to give. The Hebrew word is tzedakah, righteous giving, not charity, not optional generosity when you have extra. Righteous giving as a spiritual law that creates flow. When you give from scarcity, you stay in scarcity. When you give from abundance, even before you see the abundance, you align yourself with the consciousness of abundance. I told Rachel to start tithing 10% immediately. She looked at me like I was insane. Rabbi, I'm already short every month. How can I give away 10%? And I said what my teacher said to me 20 years ago. You can't afford not to. This is where faith becomes practical. You either believe abundance is infinite or you don't. If you believe God's hand is already open and satisfying every living thing, then 10% isn't a risk. It's an alignment tool. Rachel started tithing. Not comfortably, not easily. She was terrified the first month, but she did it. And within 3 weeks, she got a call from a friend who needed help with bookkeeping for a small business. Part-time work, flexible hours, double what she was making at her second job. 6 months later, she had quit both jobs and was running her own bookkeeping business from home. A year. Later, she had 4 steady clients, and was making more than both her old jobs combined. 18 months later, she bought her first house. Not because the prayer was magic, because the prayer changed her consciousness. Her consciousness changed her willingness to give and act, and her aligned action created different results. Here's what I need you to understand. The universe doesn't respond to your words. It responds to your consciousness. Your words are just the vehicle for shifting your consciousness. When you say, "Blessed are you, source of all, sovereign of infinite abundance," you're not trying to flatter God. You're training your own mind to see reality the way God sees it. God sees unlimited resources everywhere. You see lack because you've been trained to see lack. The prayer is the tool that retrains your perception, but it only works if you do the second part. After you pray, you act. Not someday, not when you feel ready, within 24 hours. This is another principle from Jewish wisdom. When you receive spiritual insight, you have a small window to act on it before your old patterns pull you back. 24 hours, not a week, not a month. If you don't act within 24 hours, your scarcity consciousness will talk you out of it. So here's the framework. 5 steps that turn this prayer from religious words into financial transformation. Step 1. Gratitude before request. Before you ask for anything, list 3 things you're grateful for. Financially, even if it's, "I'm grateful I ate today," "I'm grateful I have a place to sleep," "I'm grateful I'm alive to try again." Gratitude shifts your focus from what's missing to what's present. That shift is the foundation of abundance consciousness. Step 2. Speak the prayer with intention. Don't rush it. Don't mumble it. Speak every word like you mean it. Blessed are you, source of all, sovereign of infinite abundance, who opens your hand and satisfies every living thing with favor. Let each phrase sink into your mind. Feel the shift from lack to alignment. Step 3. Declare, don't beg. After the prayer, state your financial need as a declaration, not a plea. Not, "God, please help me get money for rent," but, "I receive the resources I need for my rent. Doors are opening. Favor is flowing. I am aligned." You're speaking as someone who believes the hand is already open. Step 4. See yourself as a channel, not a container. You're not trying to hoard wealth. You're trying to become a conduit through which blessing flows to others. Ask yourself, when abundance comes, who will I bless? What will I fund? Who will I help? This removes the selfishness and replaces it with purpose. Step 5. Take one aligned action within 24 hours. One action that moves you toward your financial breakthrough. Apply for the job. Make the call. Start the side business. Give the 10%. Whatever the action is, do it before fear talks you out of it. These 5 steps turn prayer into power, but only if you do them consistently, not once, not when you feel like it, every single day for 30 days minimum. Because here's what happens when you do this for 30 days. The first week, you'll feel awkward. Your old patterns will resist. Your scarcity mind will tell you this is stupid. Push through. The second week, you'll start noticing small shifts, an unexpected refund, a small opportunity, a conversation that leads somewhere. Don't dismiss these as coincidence. They're evidence that your consciousness is changing. The third week, you'll face a test. An opportunity will come that requires you to act in faith, to give when it doesn't make sense, to take a risk when you're scared. This is where most people quit. Don't quit. The test is proof that you're close to breakthrough. The fourth week, you'll start to see measurable change. Not lottery-level wealth, but real, tangible improvement. More money flowing in, less financial stress, doors opening that were closed before. And if you keep going past 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, a year, you'll look back and barely recognize your financial reality. Not because you got lucky, because you aligned your consciousness with a spiritual law that's been working for 3,000 years. Part A3. Now let me tell you what happens if you don't do this. If you keep praying the old way, if you keep approaching God from scarcity consciousness, if you keep begging instead of aligning, you'll waste another year, another 5 years, maybe another decade, and every single day of those years you'll be reinforcing the exact mental pattern that keeps you blocked. You'll work hard, you'll pray sincerely, and you'll stay stuck, not because God isn't listening, but because you're speaking a language that cannot produce the result you want. And worse than your own struggle, your children are watching. They're learning how to pray by watching you. They're absorbing your financial consciousness. When they grow up and face their own money problems, they'll pray exactly the way you prayed. They'll struggle exactly the way you struggled, and they'll pass it on to their children. This is how generational poverty works. It's not just about lack of money. It's about lack of abundance consciousness passed down like a genetic disease. But you can break that cycle today, right now, not tomorrow, not next week when you feel more ready. Today, here's what you're going to do in the next 24 hours. Write down the prayer. Don't just save this video. Don't just think about it. Get a piece of paper or open your phone and write it out word for word. Blessed are you, source of all, sovereign of infinite abundance, who opens your hand and satisfies every living thing with favor. Then tonight, before you go to bed, speak it out loud, not in your head. Out loud, with intention. Let every word reshape your consciousness from lack to alignment. And then tomorrow, within 24 hours, take one action toward your financial breakthrough. One action you've been avoiding because you were afraid or convinced it wouldn't work. Apply for the position. Start the business. Make the investment. Give the 10%, even though it terrifies you. That action is your proof that you've shifted from scarcity consciousness to abundance consciousness. Because people with scarcity consciousness wait for perfect conditions. People with abundance consciousness act in faith. Let me tell you what you'll notice in the first week. You'll catch yourself starting to pray the old way, God, I need, I lack, I don't have, and you'll stop mid-sentence. You'll remember the new prayer. You'll shift. That moment of awareness is everything. It means your consciousness is waking up. You'll also notice resistance. Your mind will tell you this is too simple to work, too easy, too good to be true. That resistance is your scarcity consciousness fighting for survival. It knows that if you align with abundance, it dies. Don't listen to it. Keep praying, keep acting. By the second week, you'll start seeing what I call green lights. Small signs that flow is increasing. An unexpected check, a discount you didn't expect, someone offering to help you with something. These aren't accidents, they're evidence that your consciousness is shifting and reality is responding. By the third week, you'll face the real test. An opportunity will come that requires faith. It might be giving money you think you can't afford to. Give. It might be saying yes to something that scares you. It might be walking away from false security to pursue real abundance. This is where most people quit. The scarcity mind screams, it's not safe, don't do it. Go back to what you know. If you quit here, you'll reset back to scarcity consciousness and waste all the progress you made. If you push through, you'll break into a new level of financial flow that you've never experienced before. And by the fourth week, you'll have proof. Real, measurable proof. More money in your account, a debt paid off, a new income stream. Something tangible that shows you this isn't theory, it's spiritual law in action. Now, I want to be crystal clear about something. This isn't about becoming rich overnight. This isn't about quitting your job and waiting for a miracle. Jewish wisdom has never taught passivity. It teaches aligned action. You still work, you still learn, you still grow, you still hustle, but you do it from a completely different consciousness. Instead of working from desperation and fear, you work from abundance and faith. Instead of chasing money, you align yourself with flow and let opportunities come to you. The work doesn't get easier, but the energy behind the work completely changes. You're not grinding to survive, you're building to bless others. Here's what I need from you right now. Go to the comments and make a public declaration. Write this exactly. I commit to praying from abundance consciousness for the next 30 days. I will take aligned action within 24 hours. I will report my results. Why make it public? Because private commitments are easy to break. Public declarations create accountability. When you tell other people what you're going to do, you're far more likely to actually do it. And then actually do it. Don't just comment and disappear. Pray the prayer every single day for 30 days. Take action. And come back in 30 days and tell us what happened. Tell us about the unexpected money, the new opportunity, the shift in your financial reality. Because when you report your results, you're not just celebrating your own breakthrough. You're giving evidence to someone else who's scared and doubting. You're becoming part of the generational transmission of abundance consciousness. You're continuing the chain that's been unbroken for 3,000 years. One more thing. Next week, I'm going to teach you about the specific names and attributes of God that unlock different types of financial breakthrough. There are ancient Hebrew names that carry frequency for business success, for favor with authority, for supernatural provision, for debt cancellation. Each name works on a different aspect of your financial reality, but none of that matters if you don't master what I taught you today. You can't skip to advanced techniques if you haven't learned basic alignment. Master this prayer. Master abundance consciousness. Prove to yourself over the next 30 days that this works. Then you'll be ready for the deeper wisdom. Let me leave you with this. For 3,000 years, Jewish families have prospered in conditions that should have destroyed them. Exiled from their land, banned from most professions, persecuted in every generation, and yet they rebuilt wealth over and over again, not because they were lucky, not because they were chosen for material blessing, but because they had knowledge, spiritual knowledge that became practical action, prayers that shaped consciousness, consciousness that shaped behavior, behavior that shaped results. You have access to that same knowledge right now, the same prayers, the same principles, the same spiritual laws. They work for everyone who works them, but they only work if you actually do them. So stop reading about abundance and start aligning with it. Stop talking about change and start becoming it. Stop waiting for perfect conditions and start acting in faith today. Your financial breakthrough isn't waiting for God to decide you're ready. It's waiting for you to align your consciousness with what God has already made available. The hand is already open. The blessing is already flowing. The abundance is already there. All you have to do is align yourself to receive it. 24 hours, one prayer, one action, 30 days of consistency. That's how you break generational poverty and step into generational wealth. Now go do it. Shalom, my friend. Until next time.